Do the intro this time.
Okay. Hi, we're Ingrid and ET, and welcome again to Lib Laugh Love, the show where we talk about libraries and bookworms, and where we will have a jingle soon.
Hopefully.
Yes. And today we're talking about the pandemic, the situation.
And how it affects libraries. Yes. We had to. It's definitely a really weird kind of situation because as much as libraries offer things online and help patrons through email and are able to like set up call forwarding and like be able to help that way, the things that like I really love about librarianship happen in person. So
Yeah.
that's been super weird to get used to.
Even when you do interact with patrons, it's much harder when half of your face is covered and you have to stand 6 feet away from them and there's plexiglass between you.
So we don't have plexiglass at the place where I work, and no one knows what 6 feet is, and they don't want to read anything that I've put online because they just want to ask me their question and have it answered in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So I have people who are showing up who maybe didn't sign up to do curbside pickup, or if they did, they still want to like talk to me. So they're definitely within 6 feet. They're touching like the doorknobs or the book drop when I'm asking them to do like contactless returns. And it's kind of freaking me out a little bit because I'm currently the only librarian working. So if anything happens, if I get sick, everything stops until I get better. And what we've been hearing about COVID is, you know, there's long-reaching issues that people are still dealing with months later. And the easiest thing we have to do is like wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart. And neither of those is really being followed. Please read the rules that your library is putting out. Different libraries probably have different rules based on staff and ability to fully decontaminate the building. But like I have people who they'll come and try to talk to me and they'll pull their mask down to ask their question.
Oh no.
I'm like, this is very not okay.
That's not
that
good.
needs to stop. I didn't mean to get like right into the personal right quick because there are people who are following the rules, and it's making me very happy to be able to get books into people's hands.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very scary when people are not following the best practices and the safest options that we know of right now. Feeling a little defeated, but going back for more.
That's it. That's the spirit.
That's the whole job.
I told you about my local library where they had the book drop closed when things were really bad in April. And then right out on the sidewalk, they had put a sign on the trash can that read, "Please do not put books in the trash. The book drops are closed." And I just saw that and wondered how many books had they found in that garbage before they put the sign on.
Oh no.
Because people really want to return books. When people want to return books, they want to return books now.
The book drop, if it's not full and you can fit books in there, you can use the book drop. People don't read messaging from the library, as previously mentioned. They've started putting things into the mail slot at our neighbors. So someone's house, an actual home.
That's really weird.
And I was just like,
I'm so sorry. That sounds so stressful.
I mean, all I can do is just keep printing out my signs that explain things. My signs have been periodically either taken down or scribbled on by people who think that the library should be open. COVID is a hoax. Not great.
Where I am, our signage has multiplied like so fast. There are signs everywhere. And I feel like people are mostly following the rules because it's a university library where they've made it very clear that people need to follow the rules or they won't be allowed to go places.
Well, I mean, in Mass, like on the local news, Your library is, or your university has really been heralded as like the way to do it if you're going to go back, if you're going to welcome students back on campus.
Oh, that's really good to hear, because we're all nervous. Like, we're all doing it anyway, but we're all like,
It made me really happy to be watching it as someone who like knows and cares about you, because I was like,
yeah,
this is good, this is good. Like,
I'm like,
she's
yeah, I'm
as
really
protected as
grateful
she
that
can
it's
be.
going okay so far, and that could change depending on if parties happen and
Jesus Christ.
traveling. Like, so we'll see in a few weeks where things stand. There's signs everywhere. Like, there are signs outside the bathrooms so that you can queue up and maintain social distance just in case. So they were very, very thorough. And yet, we had a faculty member come down from the stacks, which are closed. Like, the stacks are closed off to people, and we have red ribbons, like closing off every aisle. And if the aisle itself isn't closed off, it's like goes across, down, like past all of the books. The stacks are closed. You cannot just browse for books. You need to request them online. And yet, we had a faculty member come down last week with a stack of books in his arms. And the librarian I was working with just like, and she was like, "Sir, where did you get
You're
them?"
wrong.
You could tell that she was just like in disbelief, like, how? And he was like, "Oh, no, the aisle was open. I'm so sorry." And
No, that's willful endangerment of the community.
luckily he was very polite. I was worried he was going to be upset because he like needed these books now and he couldn't wait for them to like be quarantined and checked out, but he was fine. He was like, "Okay, I'm very sorry. I'll request them online." And I was like, "Oh, thank God." So she was just like, "Put them down on that counter. We're gonna like look at where you got them to make sure that everything's closed off, and we need to quarantine them for 3 days, and then you can request them and pick them."
I mean, that's also the weird thing about librarianship is that like we're so used to it being face to face that like face to face interactions, if you have someone who blows up at you, you have your team with you who can help diffuse the situation. Or if you have someone and you're like, hey, you're breaking the rule, sometimes like the fact that you're doing it in person, face to face, does make it a little bit more palatable.
Right.
Whereas right now, everything is happening online. When books get returned, we put them into quarantine before I scan them because I don't want to handle all of these books that have so recently been in someone else's household. So automatic, hey, you didn't return this, emails are going out, and I am getting such like vitriol back. People like, I returned this 2 weeks ago. What do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hi, I am one person doing the work of like a full team.
Oh my God.
Please stop. And I mean, it's definitely testing on the customer service aspect of librarianship right now,
Yeah.
because it's not something we've ever had to do before, really.
I feel like generally it's not the worst place to be working right now.
I agree with that.
Not my workplace specifically, but like libraries in general. Because there is so much that we can do online for people, and we can still get the books to people. And on the bright side, I think our book pickup service is really good. And I kind of hope we keep doing it after, because it's just kind of like Starbucks, you can order your book, we put it out in a little paper bag for you, and you pick it up. And that's it. And I think it just kind of makes the process smoother for a lot of people. So I hope we continue to do that.
Yeah, I think curbside pickup has definitely been the all-star of COVID response. I think most libraries are doing curbside pickup. Most places that I've seen, it's been going pretty well, in that, you kind of have to accept that there's a certain amount of risk when you're going to do curbside pickup, but that's a shared risk. It's not fully on the people who are working. It's also inherent in opting into this service. You are exposing yourself a little bit, and you have to care enough about the person getting you the books to know that they're exposing themselves as well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of places it's been very smart, and it's been a great way to do it in terms of getting books into people's hands,
Which we love to do.
which is good right now. I think a lot of people have more time right now to dedicate to reading than they've had in a while.
Right.
And curbside pickup is definitely a huge boon in that regard.
There is that distance online. And so being able to give someone a physical object.
Yeah. I'm also someone who definitely reads quicker and likes the feeling of a book in my hands. So I can totally understand people who are like, I don't like online. I understand that you're trying to like help me by giving me access to like online books, online audiobooks, online whatever. I don't like it. I want the thing. I want the physical thing. I'm like, okay, curbside pickup is for you.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. The other things that I think that have gone pretty well that I've seen, kind of across the country, across the globe even, online programming.
Yeah.
So things like online crafting hours or online story time or online book clubs. I think online programming is huge because you don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
I think we've even seen kind of an uptick in attendance because if it's the day of and you get your reminder email, it's not like, well, I don't want to walk there. I don't want to take the train. I don't want to get in my car. It's like you just have to sign on.
You just click
So I think that's been good, and like being able to go back and either like rewatch certain things if you weren't able to attend that day. Story time for us, we've always had kind of an issue in that our most popular days are Saturdays, but people are doing other things at the library that day, so they can't attend certain hours. And if I do it 1 hour like in the morning, the people who couldn't attend in the morning get really frustrated and annoyed with me.
Yeah.
So online story time really negates all of that kind of like mental gymnastics because you can rewatch it later if you missed it when it was live.
Right.
And I don't know, I think it makes it so much easier. I hope we continue to do online story time after this because we get so much more of an attendance than we would otherwise. Even for like adults who maybe are learning the language for the first time, who don't want to show up to a story hour at a library because that's really creepy to be an adult human at story time without a child with you. I mean, as the librarian, I would probably kick you out. That is very creepy behavior. But to be able to listen to stories in like a second language, and they're kind of created more for people who are acquiring language on that level, I think it's definitely helpful in helping with grammar and spoken word, like the diction and the way the sentence moves. I think it's pretty good.
Oh, that's great. I want to come to the next one.
I'll send you the link.
And
Have you guys been doing any kind of like programming like that? Very different situation because you deal more with like professors and students.
Yeah, it's an academic library, so we're not really doing any online programming, which is sad.
I'm sure you miss the arts and crafts.
Oh my God. I just want to cut things out.
You're so good at it.
Honestly, I think college students would go for that kind of thing. I think I could start an arts and crafts table.
You should. You definitely should.
Maybe not in the current climate, but when we have a vaccine, maybe I'll get a little table going. I mean, what I'm missing is the library as a community space, which we normally associate with, public libraries, but it's also true in academic libraries in a different way. We have individual study tables now. You are allowed to sit there and no one may sit with you. So it's just a little sad.
Yeah, libraries and academic libraries and public libraries and special libraries usually have in-person events. So whether it's a professor who's using the space to put on a presentation or an author coming through and presenting their work and hoping to sell books, or I mean any myriad options. The community spaces used for community events. And right now, unless you're doing them on Zoom, you can't really do that at all.
Yeah.
That's something I miss.
Yeah. So we're definitely mourning the temporary loss of that space.
Yeah. Although it has been really cool to see some online, whether it's like Instagram Live or Zoom or what have you, authors whose books are coming out right now who are doing kind of like virtual tours.
Oh,
That's
that's
been really
cool.
cool. Like I love hearing authors talk about something that they've like, spent so much time putting together and like the
Yeah.
passion that goes into a project like that. And hearing their responses to questions that I have if I'm reading the books. It's been really cool to see online events like that. They do definitely have a different set of prep
Mm-hmm.
that goes into it, just from someone who's done it on like, the back end. Obviously there's the reading of the book and the crafting of the questions and like the getting the research into the author and like the questions that they're asked frequently, the questions that maybe they haven't been asked, but the whole online aspect of it, you have to troubleshoot, you have to plan for lag time, you have to plan for people having issues with their chosen platform. It's definitely more complicated to do it this way than it is to just set up a room full of chairs and like vibe with
Yeah.
another for however long they're there.
Oh, I love to vibe at an author talk. Miss that.
Miss that so much. A couple months ago, there was a round table between librarians in Florida, a moderator, and a librarian in Germany talking about different libraries' responses to COVID, which was very interesting and very surprising because it was before Florida had even shut down at
Yeah.
all. So their librarian was kind of like, yeah, we're freaking out. Like, we're kind of closed, but kind of not because people are mad because we're closed, but the state isn't.
Yeah.
And then the librarian in Germany was like, yeah, I mean, we shut down when we were supposed to. We've been following the science. And they showed pictures of every 6 feet people waiting in line to pick up their books. Their browsing capabilities, I think, were either extremely limited or non-existent, and they were just trusting librarians to do it. They had the plexiglass up everywhere. They had chairs with like X's on them. I think they had an area that was open to the roof was open, and that maybe people could linger there a little bit, but it was very much of the understanding that like this is not normal. Nothing that's happening is normal, and you have to do what we tell you if you want to use this space.
I've been feeling like the plexiglass at my place really helps give people that visual reminder that, we're not playing around here. We will
Yeah.
leave if you're not going to wear a mask, like that kind of thing.
We've been doing curbside pickup outside because that makes me more comfortable and that I don't want people touching the door or like breathing in the same enclosed space. So people just kept coming up and ringing the doorbell. And I was like, hi, I haven't cleaned that. I don't know who's touched that. Go put on gloves, go wash your hands, do something with hand sanitizer. Stop touching things.
God.
It's also very weird. Like, I'm a very like tactile person. If I'm in a shop, I want to touch everything. If I'm picking out books, I want to like make sure that the cover feels nice. Like, so to have to be reminded, or to have to be the one reminding people that touching things is bad and like not okay right now, it feels really weird.
My God. I'm going to get you like a giant measuring stick that's like marked like at every foot so people can see and have no choice but to see. Insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen other libraries where they put book carts in front of the desk as a like visual way of being like, hey, this, you have to be at least this far from us.
Yeah.
But I've also seen responses where people were taking those and like moving them out of the way or like leaning over them, and it's like, guys.
No.
Just because you love your librarian does not mean you should put them at risk.
If you love your librarian,
Please follow our rules.
far away. We're going to talk about Libby and Hoopla another time. However, this has been my savior during the dark days. They offer some books like with unlimited copies now because of the pandemic. So that's been great. It's been easier to get some things.
Yes.
And I just read so many books on my phone this spring, which I thought I wouldn't like, but it's really easy to read in bed because I don't even have to turn the light on.
Yeah. There's also a bonus for Hoopla in that, at least for the Boston Public Library, and I think for other libraries, they've been upping the number of books that, and items and TV shows that you can check out at once. So libraries and library apps are doing the absolute most to make sure that people are still connected to services and books and media. I think the one thing that I would say is that I wish people weren't rushing to get back to normal, because I think people are right now are kind of annoyed that the library is not open the way they want it to be open, that they're not happy that the library is open in a way that is safe.
Yeah.
Which is
Bummer.
difficult to navigate, is how I'm going to say that.
Yeah. We all want it back to normal.
But until we can do so safely, please support your librarians in their work as they try not to get sick.
Yes, absolutely.
If you've seen anything at your local libraries that is very well done or even just funny, please feel free to share it with us in the comments or email us at liblaughlovepod@gmail.com.
Please.